ASAP Ferg.
Lord, this whole time, couldn't nobody hear nothing I was saying? I said I dropped some gems. Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up at about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. So on Friday, we played some music. It was Freaky Friday, super nostalgic, super throwback. I was in my feelings. I want a DJ to play I really do need a DJ, but that's neither here nor there. So on Friday night, I thoroughly enjoy working. So I worked on Friday, and for me, work is like play. Work is my play. And so I got a lot of work done on Friday, got a lot of work done on Saturday. Baby Rain is a beast. I don't think y'all understand how much of an alpha male he is. I've never dealt with this level of alpha in my life. And he just exudes this like, that's just who he is. And so he got on my last nerves this weekend. But Saturday, I spent some time with some girlfriends who I went to school with and celebrated a birthday. And I met my friend's godmother, who is well off into like her 80s. And she's spicy. She is so dope. I absolutely enjoyed her. She said, listen, when you see me on my rocking chair and and she had this big old smile. She said, don't think I'm crazy. I'm just remembering my life. I lived my life. And I was just like, you know what? That's how I'm trying to be at 80. Y'all see me in a rocking chair smiling my ass off. Just know I'm back in memory lane. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that, like living your life to the fullest. And how, like, we do not live our life to the fullest. We be so consumed with the, oh, woe it's me. This isn't going right. And this isn't happening the way that I want it to. And like yesterday, last night was a full moon, and we have 2 more days of this full moon energy. And so please take advantage of it. What does that mean? We could talk about it at a later date if you want. But last night during my meditation, I'm like, yo, I'm really human. I'm really a whole human, flesh and blood, and on this dimensional plane, and can create anything and everything that I want. Like, Why sit here and cry over spilt milk and soggy waffles, Brianna? No, but we are so consumed in this moment that we don't enjoy this moment. And the fact that, like, when your feelings are hurt and you have a heartache, like, when you're a spirit, there are no heartaches. You don't have no heartache when you're a spirit. You can't bleed when you're a spirit. You don't have no pain when you're like, to enjoy this moment in its entirety as a human, in your flesh, in your blood, in your breathing. The fact that you can breathe. I'm not a huge Bible reader, but I do remember when I was deep into the Bible, it was like the spirits are jealous of humans because we are able to have breath. And so I just don't know where it came from yesterday, but just accepting and appreciating breath. Hey, Leonard Shatenge. Great question. Do a gratitude journal. I do. I absolutely do. Reflect on past blessings and how resilient you were. Be human. Acknowledge your feelings. Breathe. Unstuck yourself. Refill your tank with ancestors' strength and God's strength. Amen. Ashe and aho. That's what we learned last week from the young lady who knows about the Quahog. I forgot the name of the tribe, but the tribe who resides on Martha's Vineyard and also have tribes on the inland. So just appreciating everything that I am and everything that we are. Yesterday was Sunday. Asari and I went to the ocean and collected some ocean water for a manifestation, but we also gave, because you can't take without giving. And so we gave blessings to the water and to the ancestors and to those who came before us, giving blessings to the earth, giving blessings to the air, giving blessings to the sea. And then we took home some seaweed and we're going to dry it out and taste it. I'm nervous because it's Boston water and I'm like, sorry, are you sure? She was just like, we could just taste it. It doesn't have, you don't have to actually eat it, but just taste it. And so I'm down. Sorry, be having me do weird stuff all the time. And I'd be so down for it. As far as today is concerned, Leonard, we love you. We need to get you on the show, Leonard. When you gonna come through? You gonna come through every time I call you. As far as news is concerned, so a lot of what's going on in the news is talking about making sure we have gun control and automatic weapons don't need to be accessible. But even though we are having these conversations nationally, one of the conversations that nobody wants to discuss is the fact that mass shootings are actually rare. Though they happen extremely often by white men in America, they are actually typically pretty rare. And what is more, questionable, or one of the things that we should be paying more attention to, are suicide by gunshots, which are in abundance. And so research, not Tayla's feelings, research say that despite the despair about the growing frequency of mass shootings, they account for 0.2% of firearm deaths. That's like the same amount of money that Black people got from the city of Boston. It's not that much. But I do not make light of those that have lost their lives from mass shooting and the trauma that we all have incurred as a society due to mass shootings, and not knowing if you can go to the movie theaters or the grocery store or Sam's Club without having to be on guard of who is near you and what their motives are in and or intentions may be. So mass shootings are rare. 470,840 people were victims of the crime that were involved in a firearm of 2018, 481,950 in 2019. Each person is counted separately, even if several of them were part of the same incident. And so when it comes to people killed by firearms, police data reported to the FBI estimates that guns were used 10,258 of the 13,927 homicides that occurred in 2019. We will stop there because there's a lot that could be covered, a lot more numbers that we can talk about, like as far as the 14,000. That's a dope ass number, 14,414 people that were killed by someone else with a gun in 2019, and 23,941 people intentionally killed by themselves with a gun. And so one person killings or one person suicides make up 35% of gun deaths. And more than 60% of suicides are completed or carried out by guns. And so I wanted it to be put in perspective because I know as a society, we are having a mass conversation about mass shootings and automatic weapons and how we need to ban them completely. And I currently am not on that side of history. In other news, historic Dakota land returns to different tribes. And so Minnesota, hold on. I knew how to pronounce this word, and then and so we're gonna bring that back because I need to figure out how to pronounce it again. Repatriate, that is the word. So Dakota has repatriated more than 120 acres to the Indian community, but more land is still held. And there is another article that I wanted to let you know about what's going on as far as like Indian Nation is concerned, because their fight is our fight. We are one together. Whatever it is that they're going through, we, the people, are definitely going through as well. And so, where are you? It was talking about how Mount Rushmore is actually Indian land. And while we're over here like paying tribute to our forefathers, it's like how that is the most disrespectful thing that we could have ever done in the history of America, is sit here and take treaty land that was already given to the Indians and say, listen, this is no longer, this land is my land. It was your land. And go ahead and carve in your presidents that were slave owners. Ain't that America? It sure is. And so 120 acres ain't ish. Like, it really is nothing when you think about how much land was taken from natives of this country. In other news, I find this absolutely hilarious, because when we talk about taking funding, like defund the police, it's just like, no, how dare you defund the police? So the ball was dropped by all. How cops got more than $400,000 in unlawful sick pay sick day payouts. Records in 25 New Jersey towns show that police officers took annual payments for unused sick days despite a law forbidding the practice. The payments added up to nearly $500,000 in 2 years. Cops may have to pay it back, and I hope that they do have to pay it back. And so with that being said, though this is in Jersey, I wanted to are you going to say I can't? So state police overtime in Massachusetts, overtime spending has surged to $58 million in 2019. And because this is a Boston Globe article and I do not have a subscription, we cannot read it. But what we do know is that the union represents almost 2,000 rank and file Massachusetts state police troopers and has sued the agency, alleging that it broke state and federal labor laws by intentionally miscalculated what qualifies as regular pay, costing members $2 million per year in overtime pay. The State Police Association of Massachusetts lawsuit filed last week in Suffolk Superior Court, and this was on March 23rd of last week, seeking at least $18 million in back pay and damages. Yet, we know that many of the police officers and state police officers have millions of dollars in overtime. And if you take a look at some of these officers that Domingo DeRosa. So Domingo DeRosa, who is a huge advocate here in the city of Boston, had a run-in with a police officer while he was feeding those on methadone mile. So quick background. Methadone mile is Mass Ave, where Mass Ave meets Melnea Cass. And so this is where a high population of drug addicts convene. And Domingo DeRosa, who is also running for city councilor, was out there feeding the people. They need to be fed. They're hungry. They're thirsty. He's out there doing what you're not supposed to do in Georgia when someone's at a voting line. And so there was an incident that happened, neither here nor there, but the police ended up having to come out and was questioning DeRosa and like badgering him. And so he's like, yo, who is this officer? And who is he? And like, let's hold him accountable. And so some dope online person went ahead and found the officer based on his badge number. And the officer makes $163,000 a year. And it has like the whole rank and file, when they became an officer, where they currently reside, all this other nonsensical nonsense regarding this police officer, including their salary and where they rank in highest paid. And at $163,000 a year, he was like in the 400th percentile. Yo, I'm about to be a Boston police officer. Y'all getting paid $250,000? Because one of the officers that also had a badge was paid like $216,000 a year. For a police officer? Yo, y'all don't even, what is it, like 93% of the murders in Boston are unsolved? And y'all make $200,000 a year? Crazy. I think it's crazy. I just my opinion, but these are your tax-paying dollars. We talked last week on Friday, really quickly. So on Friday, I played like tempo slow, lights down low. Let me take you to a place where only R. Kelly, right? And so everybody was like, yo, so we playing R. Kelly? That's what we do when we playing R. Kelly? Y'all want to talk about cancel culture? How about we really cancel what designers are you wearing? And what do they say about Black people? What foods are you eating and how are they intentionally trying to kill you? What shoes are you wearing that are paying little kids 14 cents per sneaker? Like you want to talk about cancel something? Let's cancel the real problem. Let's cancel the fact that 35% of your income goes to public service that is not serving you, the public that paid for it. And so for me, I don't understand how you let these police officers make $200,000 a year and you ain't calling for like, I'm just saying though. I was wondering, who do I contact about having more? I don't even know that word. I want to say it's like calisthenics parks in the playground. I like to see more of that. And I'm going off context here, so context clues. I'm thinking these are the machines at different playgrounds that like allow you to work out and show you different things. I've been seeing the more updated playgrounds have these. And so I would say Parks and Recreations would be who you would contact, or just call 311 and let them direct you from there. But I believe it would be Parks and Recreations, and your best bet is to call 311. If you are here in the city of Boston, or if you are in the state of Massachusetts, you call 211 and complain or talk or discuss anything that you have questions about on state level, and then 311 for the city of Boston. And so, You cook with seaweed from Maine. Nancy, let's talk about that. I am excited. That's all city or state employees. You mean that list of like how long they've been there, how much money they make, or you saying state and city employees get bank? That's a lot of money. You could live in the city of Boston. He lived in Middleborough though. But yo, could you imagine living in Middleborough where you had a 3 family for $350,000 and still make $250,000 a year? That's like living down south making $250,000. That's like that puts you on millionaire status. You live a different life when you making $250,000 and your mortgage is $1,700. It's a different lifestyle. It's a system within a system. Police officers are expected to protect the country. Expectations don't necessarily mean reality, though. The corruption of the country, along with other professions that work inside a corrupt government. Yes. Call me, Stephen. Call me now. Hold on, I have to connect this thing. So let's go ahead. What time is it? 11:30. We're going to pay these bills. And while I set up this information so Steve can call. Hold on, Steve. We're not connected. Let me go ahead and pay these bills. And when we come back, I do want to hear what Steve has to say about city and state employees. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up at about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
You are now listening to Spark FM.
So to answer your question, Michael African Tucker King, OV pressure drop. As far as is it recommended to take the COVID-19 vaccines? I am not a COVID shamer. If that's what you choose to do, that is your choice. I personally am not getting vaccinated. My children are not getting vaccinated. That is my choice. That is what I choose. I want you to choose what is best for you. There are some people that have pre-existing conditions where if they don't get vaccinated, then it could lead them to other health issues. And so I am not a shamer. If you decide to do it, great. If you don't, great. Either the truth of the matter is what you do is your choice. Steve, we got you on the line.
Taylor, you give out a lot of misinformation over there, Queen.
Tell me.
All right, so all city and state employees have that option to, in different departments with sick time, floating holidays, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Hold on, I want to
This
be
is
clear
where-
that the first article that I read was from Jersey, where it's illegal for them to do so. And then we
that's why I
switched
said it's
over to
misinformation.
Massachusetts.
That's why I said misinformation, because when people listen to you, they're going to listen and get bits and pieces. Now, in Massachusetts and in Boston, you only get your sick time. You can't cash it out, not for BPD. They will cash it out if you leave the department, and you get 40% of it. All right? So let's talk about the other issue about this. Defund the police, and there are all these police officers making so much money. It's a catch-22. Not enough police officers on the street. That's why cops make so much money, because there's so much overtime. And a lot of overtime that is paid by that organization. Did you know that, Taylor?
Like when they
Taylor
go,
Andre has an event.
they get paid from the outside source. Like, say, for instance,
Of course.
they're doing a detail. The detail will pay and not.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So a lot of the overtime is not coming from taxpayers. Most of the overtime budget comes from separate organizations. And the ones that are paid by the taxpayers, those taxpayers are asking for police officers to be there. And guess what? Most of them are not covered. So a lot of guys just hustle. The base Boston police officer rate and state police rate is pretty terrible. But you get over it if you max out, you get a degree, then you get the overtime, which is plenty of overtime, because BPD is probably around close to 1,500 officers down. So there's going to be plenty of overtime. And the officers that are in charge of the homicide unit, there's no homicide unit officers patrolling. That's just detectives. And the detectives don't look like me and you, Taylor. They look like the other people, right? So instead of saying defund the police department, this is the issue I have with people. We have to get people like Taylor and myself into the police department, into admin positions to change it. Defund the police. If you want to talk about defund the police, guess who defund the police hurts first and only? Our community. Doesn't hurt them. It never hurts the upper brass. The upper brass gets their money regardless. It's going to hurt Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester. So that information, we have to look into it. Defund police shouldn't be defund police. It should be us getting the jobs, and not just getting the jobs, but the administration jobs needs to be us. People that are from the neighborhood. Period. Then you do this with defund police, which they're trying to do it now. There should be a vetting process yearly, and if you don't pass that vetting process, whatever, your license to be a police officer should be yearly. And should be bonded. And if you do that, guess what? You can't get insurance, you can't get bonded, and you can't be an officer. See how that works?
And I know that was like conversations that were being had. I know nothing was being pushed through, or it wasn't.
No, nothing's being pushed through.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The mass police reform that is on the table now, that's been approved, is going to be great changes. But listen to this, Taylor, that you didn't know. Now you're going to have less police officers on the street with a crazy summer that's coming up. Because now, anyone that's a police officer has to do how many hours of retraining, Taylor? How many hours? Tell me.
You tell me.
700 hours, Taylor.
That's it.
So
Yo, hold on, 700. The barbers, and that's the same amount as barbers and hairdressers.
Taylor, different thing, Taylor. Guys already get trained every year. They already went to the academy. Now you want guys that are on the job every day that work to go do 700 hours. So what community is going to be affected again, Taylor?
Hours.
Okay, because guess who the officers they're going to take first to knock those 700 hours off?
Hours.
Oh, there you go. See how it works?
I do. I'm not ignorant. I get it.
Everybody that's a police officer will now have to take an additional 700 hours. So when you call 911 and everyone's talking about defund the police, when those gun shops are coming this summer, when those street block parties are coming this summer, they ain't coming.
Yo, hold on. No. Now that I have you, I wanted to talk to you about something. So you remember the conversations that we were having? I was like, yo, we don't need police officers in the school. We need more.
Yeah.
What did guidance counselors? So Anari, I only know what's going on because my kids know what's going on. And so Anari showed me videos of when roller rink in Saugus opened up, and all like these kids been in the house. They have all of this frustration, all this anger, all this aggression. Roller rink is shut down indefinitely because the first 2 weeks that they opened, there were fights. People getting beat up. There was a whole, montage of videos of all the different fights that happened. There was literally 30 different fights that took place.
Wow, Taylor. Wow. Is that so? Not the young kids. The young kids are
not the young kids, not the babies.
Taylor, let me just say this. And listen clear when I say this. And people that are listening to this are going to be very upset. This is the truth. From the age of 14 to 22, that's your youth violent strike force, BPD, that's what they look for, right? So if you're 14 to 21 or 14 to 22, where do you go to school at? What happens in the streets on the weekend? Where does it go to? And what happens in the schools goes to the streets. We don't never want to have these conversations. For whatever reason, in the last year, all students are great students, and there's no issues. For the last 36 years, the Boston School Police Department has got at least 3 firearms out of a Boston public school for the last 37 years straight. Not a rumor.
Hold on. You said what? For the last 37 years. So as old as Tayla is, y'all got at least 3 guns every year?
Every year. So listen. These are the conversations no one wants to have, right? Now, what is the gang culture inside of BPS?
Well, you know that. I don't know the gang culture inside BPS. You tell us. Right now, it should be nothing because them kids ain't even in school.
Not true. How many students get robbed to and fro to school every day for cell phones?
Tell me.
You tell me, Taylor. Think about it. Now today's the first day of school, right? Okay. And you're telling kids to wear masks. And it's okay to wear a mask. So what do you think that means, Taylor? It's okay for kids to wear masks.
We gonna see an increase of violence?
Oh, come on, Taylor. The same thing that happened in the little skating rink I told you about when you was talking about it's not necessary. Let me give everyone a real clear picture. You can't operate any city that has over 100,000 people without law enforcement in the building. And what we're going to do right now in Boston, we're going to do exactly what you want, Taylor. We're going to do restorative justice and guidance counselors and kumbayas and circles. And you know what, Taylor? I know who you are as a woman and as a mother. You'll be the first one to freak and lose your mind and say something happened to one of your babies in the school and they wasn't protected. But you're going to have your kumbayas and your circles and restorative justice. Now, let me say this. How many knives do we take a year that don't even get reported? Y'all know that? How many students get stabbed, jumped, robbed? So now it's not going to get reported because of that situation in East Boston. Remember the ICE situation?
Yeah.
When a school police officer was banned, when a school police officer said that he did something wrong, he was just doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
Kids had a fight. He wrote it up. The information was shared. He didn't send it anywhere. The information was shared from BPD, not from us. So now the kid gets deported. That's not us. But why did it happen? It was a riot.
Hold on. All right, Steve, but 5 seconds, right? Because I don't want to take up the whole show talking about this, but at the same time, I do want to talk about this. Why is it that if Anari's in Sudbury and he get into a fight, it was just a fight at school. But if Anari's in Boston, he get into a fight, that's now an assault on a child's record.
Because Sudbury lies and they want to continue to get more money. Do you know Sudbury will call the local police, right? You do know that, right?
No.
Okay, that's my point. So you're assuming, and when you assume, you know what happens.
Make an
And you
ass out
can't,
of yourself.
yeah,
Yes,
and
Steve.
you can't compare Sudbury to the city of Boston, where there's 700,000 people in BPS house. How many students and how many people are in BPS every day when September starts? 60,000. So if you take 60,000 people, that's the size almost of a mid-level city.
Mm-hmm.
There's 55,000 students, just students. We're not going to say when we get firearms off employees. That's a whole other conversation.
That is a whole nother conversation. But the question at hand was, when a white kid gets into a fight, it's just a fight. It's just a fight. It's just an
You're not
altercation.
listening,
But when
Taylor.
our kids get
Taylor,
into fights, Steve,
Taylor, you didn't
it's an
listen, Taylor.
assault. That is the question.
Taylor, you didn't listen because it's a town of with 5,000, 3,000 people in it, and their parents pay for it to have it set up like that. Assault is an assault. We can't keep saying they're kids and they're only playing. When someone's child is bleeding or someone's going upside your child's head, it's an assault. In Sudbury, same thing in Boston. Just because they cover it up out here doesn't mean it's different. And guess what, Taylor? Every time there's a fight or something like that, there's not a report or arrest every time. But there's times when it's needed. And plenty times where it's needed. You must not be a BPS grad, Taylor. I think you have that Mecco aura about you.
You ain't about to judge me. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I know, because I can tell. Anyone that went to BPS knows what's really going on. Okay?
Yes,
I know.
sir.
You have that Mecco vibe to you, so I do say.
You're absolutely right.
So what you did today, you had a great show per usual, but you're giving a lot of people misinformation.
It's not misinformation if in New Jersey it's illegal, but then we switch gears to Massachusetts.
But we can't talk about what they do in New Jersey because guess what?
I can if it's an article and we're reading that they did illegal things that cost the city $400,000.
No, Taylor. Let me say what I'm saying this. What you're saying is can affect everybody when these rules are changing. A lot of things that happen for police happen for a lot of people. And guess what? There's a lot of different unions that got it better than state police or Boston police or anyone in law enforcement. So if you open up that can to say that's what's happening with police, then I'm all for it. So make sure we do it for everybody. Teachers, administrators. Because let me tell you something about the school system. The biggest crooks are the administrators and the admin. Nothing to do with law enforcement. Always remember.
Well, I never said anything about that, Steve.
Well, I'm telling you. Because everything's been hopped on about law enforcement or police. Let me tell you another thing you don't know. All this energy was going to BPD, right? You see what happened. The mayor got in front of it and kind of slowed it down. The rest of the energy went to us because they had nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. We wasn't even in the talks. It was just flipped like that to make it seem that Boston is what? A city that gets in front of things. But people are going to get what they want. It's going to be a cruel summer, and it's going to be a crazy 2022.
I really pray not. That is actually one of my prayers because
you need to keep praying. It's going to be, because I always tell you and warn you, and you look at me like I'm crazy, then you come back and see like, oh my goodness. You know, and then if you really want to see what's going on, don't look at the news. Research independently. Go on YouTube and see what's happening in the streets, what the young people are doing, and what's going on.
And all the music videos. I know the music videos tell it all.
I'm not even talking about the music videos. Like the music videos is the easy way to see what's going on. So, I mean, good luck to everyone, and
be safe
happy
this
trails.
Summer. Be safe this summer.
I'm gonna be very safe. You know, I got some things up my sleeve, so I'm gonna be safe. But yeah. So watch out with that sick time and that vacation time and leave and all that. because there's people that got it much better than law enforcement. And remember this, Tayla, my last point. If a patrolman is making over 100 grand, then he's busting his ass to make it. He's working 7 days a week, and out of that 7 days a week, he's doing double shifts. He ain't just sitting at home, they give him the money. See what I'm saying? He's working. He's taking every
He's at
shift.
Target and at Stop and Shop making $300,000.
No, he wasn't making no $300,000 at Target.
He was making $267,000 at Stop and Shop.
Tayla. What? See, this is the problem. Misinformation again.
Steve,
what
that
is
ain't
his position?
Misinformation. Make me pull
Tayla,
facts. Make
you're
me
not
pull
listening,
receipts.
Tayla.
The Asian police officer at Stop and Shop was getting close to $300,000 a year.
You're not listening, Tayla. What is his position? You can't say police officer. Is he a sergeant? Is he a lieutenant? Is he a captain doing overtime? When you say police officer, that means a patrolman. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference. Every time you go up, there's more money to be made if you have a degree. You see what I'm saying? So you can't just say somebody that's a police officer walking the beat or in the cruiser is making 200 grand. Mm-hmm. That's not true. Now, tell me if he's a sergeant, lieutenant, and captain with a master's degree, that makes a big, huge difference. And if he's at Target and Stop and Shop, Tayla, who's paying for the police officer to be there? Target. See what I'm saying? Target is playing. That doesn't come out of BPD's money. It's not a Target. Target is paying for that overtime.
I'm going down rabbit holes because of you.
Huh?
I'm going down rabbit holes.
I know, because that you're giving out information, but it's still misinformation. Because a patrolman's a patrolman. And after the patrolman, what's the next one? Sergeant. Then lieutenant. Then captain. Then after that, you get deputy superintendent. But then you go to the detective side. You can be from patrolman to detective. Then sergeant detective to lieutenant detective. See what I'm saying? So if a lieutenant detective that has a bachelor's is at Target and he's working overtime, yeah, he can make 200 grand because he's a lieutenant detective. But for a regular patrolman to come out the academy and make $200,000, I doubt it. That means that dude ain't sleeping. Make sense?
It makes sense, but I'm going to pull these receipts, and then we're going to have this conversation.
Pull the receipts and call me. Then you're going to feel bad. Then you're going to come back to me like,
I'm not going to feel bad because I know what I read.
I'm Tayla, you're not listening to me. I didn't say you was wrong. I said misinformation.
What is misinformation, Steve?
Because you said police officer.
So when you see somebody with a badge, you see that's a sergeant or you see that's a police officer? You see that's police. I can tell.
Let me stop. Let me tell you how
or
you tell.
Or you see police with a degree. Or you see a police or a sergeant with a degree.
No. Tayla.
Steve, I'm done. Nope, I'm done.
Let me tell you how. This is for your listeners. Because people don't know this, Tayla. Listen. If you see a silver badge, that means they're a regular patrolman. You hear me? Tayla, you heard me?
I'm listening.
If you see a gold badge, that means they're a supervisor. Then you got to see what's on their chevron. If they have chevrons, they're a sergeant. They don't have chevrons, then if they have a bar, they're a lieutenant and up. Did you learn something? If they have stars on the top of the collar, that means what? Hello?
Tell me, Steve.
Those are the differences, Tayla. Because when you say that, you make everyone think a patrolman is making $200,000. It's not, and that's very hard to do for a regular patrolman. I think that's almost impossible. But it's easy for a sergeant and lieutenant to do. Make sense?
Okay. We're saying tomatoes and tomatoes differently,
no, we're
right?
not.
So let me ask you a question.
You know why, Tayla?
Is it okay? You think it's acceptable for a sergeant to
make
$250,000 a year? That's acceptable.
Tayla, let me finish why. I'm trying to tell you. Because the sergeants and lieutenants and captains, Listen, Taylor. Stop being upset, being emotional, and listen. The sergeant, lieutenants, and captains are who? Huh?
Continue, Steve. Continue.
The sergeant, lieutenants, and captains are not us, Taylor. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand.
And we saying the same thing, though.
No, we're not saying the same thing, Taylor.
We're saying the same thing in the sense
no,
of
you're not.
Who's getting paid and who's getting the money, Steve? Where are they taking it? Do they live in Boston?
Some of them do. West Roxbury, Savin Hill. Some of them do. Reedville. Upper level Charlestown. I can tell you where they live at.
And somebody asked if Steve is Steve the 12. Steve is not the whole 12. Steve is like the 11.
Huh?
Steve works within the school department, but he does have what is your official title?
Nobody's business. I have a few of them.
Okay.
But Taylor.
He is not a police officer, but he knows a little bit.
My official title is I'm a City of Boston constable for 15 years. I've been a Boston school police officer for 22 years.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is we get mad about the money people make, right? But we don't attack the money the way to correctly and know the in and outs of it so we can effectively say this is a problem. And then the way we present it, we hurt our communities and we hurt the people that look like us. Because most of us that get the jobs, like myself, that go to the academy, we're the ones put in Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester, and we're not the ones getting getting the positions of power and admin to make changes. So then when we do try to make some money, we got to go out there and make money and get a degree and get overtime. See what I'm saying? That's the only way a black or brown officer can make money if he can't get promoted, is he has to go get a degree and work a hell of a amount of overtime. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense, Taylor?
Steve, it makes sense. When over 70% of the Boston Police Department are white males, I'm not talking about us.
But what I'm saying, Taylor, is the information you give affects us more than it affects them. Defund the police will hurt more black police officers than any of them.
I believe that to be true, yes.
Okay, did you know that?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, because I'm in it. And we're not talking about the real things of saying, how can we get officers from our community in the right tables and spaces of power?
And so it was really, as far further from this conversation today, it's not really about defund the police, but the reallocation of funds from the police department. For me, let me be clear, for me, it's less about defunding them and reallocating the funds.
But you can't run modern society without law enforcement.
And that's fine. I didn't say I don't want law enforcement. That is not what was being said. But the reallocation of funds, I don't feel like you're hearing me. Because I've been hearing you for 22 minutes. I've been hearing you, and I don't feel like you're hearing me.
Taylor, I hear what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Take the money and put it somewhere else. I get it, but our society's not set up for that to be done correctly like that yet. Is what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Okay.
We're gonna see this summer if that outlook will work.
Steve, we already seen it. We had one warm day last week, and we definitely seen the problems. BPD news, the BPD news that they have of all of the crimes that were committed, and all of. Steve, can you do something for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the story about the black officers that were on the beat back in the 70s and 80s?
I know exactly what you're going with that, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
So, do you know any? I know Marilyn Mosby's daddy was one of them. Are there any that are still living today that we can have a conversation with? And
that would be like Billy Sylvester and that group.
Can you help? Can you help that? Can you make that connection?
I can probably get Billy Sylvester them. But now you're going to the right thing is you take people from the community and they police in their community and they police a whole different way than someone that's white from outside the community.
Exactly. From West Roxbury.
They
from
police
the
totally
outskirts
different.
of all of them. Like I do want to have that conversation. I would truly appreciate if you could help with that. And like, I'm still trying to get in contact with Gerald.
I'll get you in contact with Gerald.
Yeah, because he switched his number. We called him 3 weeks ago on air, and it was just like, no. So I would greatly appreciate if we can, because the court case is done now, so he can speak freely.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna send him a text right now trying to reach out to you. I don't know if he's gonna come out.
I love to disagree to agree. I love talking to you. You annoy the hell out of me, but I love talking to you.
I know. I see that I'm annoying the hell out of Bill Rigg too. Tell Billy have a great day. I'm glad that, you know what I'm saying, I'm a bad guest and I'm corny and all that good stuff. And I'm jumping the kids.
We know.
Hey, Bill, have a great day.
You as well. So
let me get back to work.
That is Steve Wilson. Steve Wilson, he is. I can't tell you how knowledgeable he truly is. He frustrates the life out of me because I am super emotional, and he be straight facts. He'd be like, "Facts, Tayla. Facts, Tayla. Facts." And so we have a love, hate, agree to disagree relationship, but. I don't need people who agree with everything that I say in my life. That would be horrible. That is not what you need. Nobody needs yes men in their corner. And so what I would like to do for Bill, this is for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Hey, happy birthday to you. We didn't get through no news. We didn't get through any news talking to damn Steve. But what we are gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pay these bills, and then when we come back, we are going to. There are some news articles that I want to get through real quick, and before we get to Motivational Monday, in the sense of like. Motivating thyself, because we always look for outside sources to give us a motivation or to give us a push. And when the truth of the matter is, you have everything you need inside of yourself, inside of you. And so we need to stop looking at outside sources for validation and motivation and seek internally the wisdom that is already resides in you. And so really quickly, let's pay these bills. Waking Up with Tayla Andre, Spark FM online. Download the app because one of these days I ain't gonna go live and you ain't gonna see my face in this. We still gonna be on air though.
And need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
You are now listening to Spark FM.
Spark FM, waking up with Tayla Andre, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. What does that mean? It means we talk about anything and everything under the sun, and sometimes you're not going to like what's being said, and sometimes I'm not going to like what's being said, and that is perfectly okay. On to other news really quickly. And so, as you know what's going on in Georgia, or maybe you don't, but Delta Airlines praised Georgia's new and improved law suppression voting rights. And people are really calling for not just Delta, but for Coca-Cola and other larger corporations that reside or have their base in Georgia, for them to pull out, not just pull out of Georgia and leave, because take the money, hit them where it hurts and take the money out and completely leave. So Georgia's governor hit back and said, we are not if Biden and his cronies actually read the bill, you would see that it has nothing to do with voter suppression. You would see that it has everything to do to ensure that there is not voter fraud. My thing is, what does me passing out water to people have anything to do with voter fraud? The first time I voted for Obama, I was living in Birmingham, Alabama. It was the first time I ever had to wait in line to vote. And I believe I waited 45 minutes. I brought a book with me, and I remember being mad that I, A, did not bring water, and B, didn't bring a chair, because I literally had to wait. And so when I vote here in Boston, I literally walk in, say my name, vote, and leave. It's less than a 5-minute process. But to have waited to vote for Barack Obama, it was horrible in Birmingham, Alabama. It was the most half-ass, backwards nonsense I've ever seen. And I really just thought it was because it's a southern state, they're slower than Massachusetts. And understanding how, I don't know, I don't want to go down on that rabbit hole right now. Elizabeth Warren is on Twitter arguing with Amazon. And so Elizabeth Warren tweeted, giant corporations like Amazon report huge profits to their shareholders, but they exploit loopholes in tax havens to pay close to nothing in taxes. That's not right. And it's why I'll be introducing a bill to make most profitable companies pay their fair share. Amazon hit back and said, you make the tax laws, Senator Warren. We just follow them. If you don't like the laws you created, by all means, change them. Here are the facts. Amazon has paid billions of dollars in corporate taxes over the past few years. In 2020, we had another $1.7 billion in federal tax expenses. And on top of that, $18 billion we generated in sales tax for state and localities in the U.S. Congress denied tax laws to encourage investments in the economy. So what have we done about that? $350 billion in investments since 2010 and 400,000 new U.S. jobs last year alone. And while you're working on changing tax code, can we please raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Elizabeth Warren hits back and said, I did not write the loopholes you exploit, Amazon. Your armies of lawyers and lobbyists did. But you bet I'll fight to make you pay your fair share and fight your union busting and fight to break up big tech so you're not powerful enough to heckle senators with snooty tweets. The first time I heard snooty was actually in Alabama. I've never heard it before, Elizabeth Warren. This is the second time I've ever heard it in life. And for Elizabeth Warren to use it, it feels weird. And then Amazon hit back with, this is extraordinary and revealing. One of the most powerful politicians in the United States just said she's going to break up an American company so that they can't criticize her anymore. This is what we have resolved to in America. I do want to give, so we've had the Divine Nine in the building on 2 separate occasions, and so I want to give a huge shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho sorority and the International Black Women in Public Policy Institute that raised concerns about the epidemic of Black female trafficking in the United States. And so in the United States, there are more than 600 to 800,000 persons being trafficked annually across international borders, with 40% of sex trafficking victims being Black women and girls. Yet we are only 13% as a people of the population at 40% of those that are being sex trafficked. And so this was a conversation that was had on Thursday, March 16th, the virtual session that was held during the 65th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. And so huge shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho, who spearheaded this conversation about sex trafficking here in the United States and the role that it plays on Black women and girls. The young man from Ghost, what is that show called? Power. The young man from Power, the little boy who everybody wanted to beat up, who couldn't stand him. His real name is Michael Rainey Jr. And he was driving. One of his friends was in the passenger seat. There was a Black officer, a Black New York City officer that pulled him over and asked him for his license and registration. The thing about this particular stop is that when the officer asked for the license and registration, he had his hand on his gun and his finger like ready, set, go, until the young man in the passenger seat who was recording was like, could you please get your hand off your gun? And once he seen that he was being recorded, he quickly took his hand off his gun and then put his shirt over it. And so Michael Rainey Jr. said that his intense moment he had with a police officer, he said literally, like, the camera saved my life. If it wasn't for his homeboy recording the incident, he really thinks that he would have been another name in a hashtag. And so you can watch the video for yourself. It is on YouTube and Instagram. But how many articles have we read over and over again? And Steve, if you're listening, like, that's great. Police are supposed to protect and serve, but that's not always what happens. And when we talk about police, specifically when I talk about police, I'm talking about all police officers, because it seems as if that thin blue line, regardless of the color of your skin. And so are there issues within the thin blue line? Absolutely. When it comes to colorism, when it comes to racism, when it comes to like xenophobia, homophobia, all of that. And so the biggest gang in America is the police department. I don't care what badge they have. I don't care how many stars they have. The biggest gang in America are the police. When you have multiple article after article after article, I'm not a police officer, Steve. I'm not in your position. I don't see how these children react. I don't see the actual crime itself. What I see as a law-abiding citizen is that there are too many of us that are being killed, or there's not enough proper restraint. And when you can have, shoot up an entire movie theater or a supermarket and be restrained, but yet you're sitting in the vehicle with your child in the back and you're killed, These are the problems that I speak of. So let me be clear so I don't get labeled misinformation again, Steve. Um, uh, Baltimore is on the heels of Massachusetts. And so when we take a look at our district attorney, Rachel Rawlings, she went ahead and said, we are not going to prosecute lower level offenses. And in Baltimore, they are also ending prosecution of low level offenses, charting a new course in public safety. And so Marilyn Mosby has announced that she is going to end the prosecution of certain offenses in the city, reflecting on a year of a scaled back law enforcement. They found that the quality of life found that going after quality of life crimes did not improve public safety. And so I'm really excited about this in the sense of we're seeing more municipalities pay attention to like what is actually harming communities and how do we focus on that and reallocate the funds to programs to be more helpful for young people. And so data suggests that there is no public safety value in persecuting low-level offenses. We learned that these offenses were being discriminatory enforced. Can I speak English today? That would be nice. That Black and brown people were being discriminated against. The era of tough on crime prosecutors is over in Baltimore. And so, as we know, Marilyn and her husband are being targeted for financial mismanagement. And so, we are still going to be following that. But we do know and remember when Rachel Rawlings came out and said that she is no longer going to prosecute low-level crimes. They came for her too in her whole life. And because she is a little bit of a squeaky clean, they really didn't have anything to do but attack her personally, since there was nothing else that they could come after her for. Like, I'm surprised they didn't try like, oh, we're gonna do your little financial whoop-de-whoop. But let me see. Steve, I hug you, Steve. I hug you. Really quickly, in other news, in Louisiana, so I love documentaries. If you know anything about me, I love a documentary. And there was a documentary that I watched on Netflix talking about pollution and agriculture and just like environmental racism that takes place in the United States when it comes to in industries moving into small towns, polluting water, polluting soil, polluting the air, and not paying any retributions for the people who end up getting all types of cancers and illnesses and ailments. And so in Louisiana, activists are fighting a battle against environmental racism. And for those who don't know what environmental racism is, it's basically like when a company comes into Tayla town and this company is all of a sudden, producing mass production of whatever it is that they're producing, but the water is, being contaminated or toxin, I don't know what word I'm trying to look for, but toxic wastewater or the pollution in the air causing numerous cancers. Most of these take place in predominantly Black neighborhoods or predominantly Black towns. And it's like, nobody really cares. Like, who cares? And when you go to the city or when you go to the town is being paid and not like really paid off in the sense of like, oh, here, take this money, put it in your pocket. But all of people have jobs now where these jobs were not created before. People are able to work and the economy is booming and all of these people moved into the town. And so we're seeing more taxes come in. It just all of like the town does not benefit from telling them to start working. And so it's just like, well, there's nothing really that we can do. And so I am excited that this is a conversation that is being had, and that the residents near the proposed site already live with more toxic air pollution than 99% of the United States, and that the cancer-causing emissions could double and are doubling, according to reports. And so they're doing everything that they can to fight against it, and even going to having a conversation with the United Nations, which I think this is absolutely amazing, because when you take a look at the World Health Organization, for me personally, I feel if the World Health Organization was having real conversations about world health, we would have conversations about the Amazon and how we are destroying the Amazon. We are destroying the Congo. We are destroying our rainforest. We are destroying the one thing that allows us to live on this planet, and that is creating air, the oxygen that we breathe. And so for those who don't know, a lot of the air that we breathe comes from the rainforest. Like all of this amazing breath, we just talked about it, being a human being, being able to breathe, having breath, not having pollution in our air. This all comes from the trees that grow. And a lot of the oxygen that is created in places in which we are destroying. Free-flowing waters that animals, plants, people were once drinking is not drinkable because of, particularly the documentary that I watched was about produce, and meat packaging, and how the meat industry is doing more harm to society than any of the emissions from cars or airplanes. And it's really like what's going on in these factories that are doing the most damage. And so I just would like to take 5 seconds of the day and pray for victory of all those fighting environmental justice. And not just that, but the Native Americans that are fighting back for their land, because it makes no sense why we have treaties and we can't go against a treaty that we have with any other nation except for the First Nation here in America. And there's no war to be had. And that's the conversation that we had with the young lady. I'm like, hold on, how you allow why are y'all so kumbaya? Because no other nation is going to be kumbaya with a country that is disrespecting treaties and not even adhering to treaties. Like disregarding is the word that I was actually looking for. In other news, Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren recently is making statements about marijuana legalization, and she has come under fire because she truly believes that beyond changing policies and procedures, we must do more to close the wealth gap between Black and brown people and white residents. With marijuana legalization on the horizon in New York, we have an opportunity we never had before to bring real resources to bear real resources to bear to uplift our families and improve, and not just their financial well-being, but their future as a whole. And so this is a conversation that we have had here in Massachusetts as far as payment of reparations in the form of just like leveling the playing field. But did we really though? And so yes and no. And it's 12:23, and I want to make sure that we get to Motivational Monday. Spelman College received record numbers of applications for 21 to 22 admission cycles, and that is huge. They have seen a complete uptick in college admissions to historically Black colleges and universities, and I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, this weekend I had a meeting with C-Plan, the Collaborative Parent Leadership Action Network, like the Parents Union, and one of the things that the members said in her opening is just like, what do you wish you knew as a child? What do you wish your younger self would have known when you were in high school? And she was just like, I wish I would have known more about historical Black colleges and universities. And living in the North, she didn't have exposure to them. And because she didn't have exposure, she didn't have the knowledge of them. And so she went to a predominantly white institution, and she wished she went to a historical Black college and university. And I say that to say so many of our young people are now sending in their applications, and all of them are SEED record numbered, but this particular article was about Spelman. There was a really dope article that I wanted to read about a single mom who was earning $22,000 a year as a waitress who turned her tax refund into $1 million real estate portfolio. And so she is based out of Detroit, and because of like how taxes work and how you get refunds depending on how much money you make, she was able to get a $7,000 refund. And because of what Detroit's real estate market was looking like, that was enough for her to be able to buy a house. And so she bought one house and then built on that and bought another house and built on that and bought another house. And now she has a multi-million-dollar portfolio based in real estate. And so I wanted to highlight that because she's not the only one. If you take a look at some of these other cities and towns, if you take a look at different cities and towns in Alabama, you could buy a house for $13,000. In Georgia, $28,000. Is it going to be far out the city? Absolutely. But can you still get rent for it? Absolutely. And so I think too many of us are attached to like this big money. If you have to purchase a $1.5 million house here in the city of Boston in order to make $3,000 a month, scale that back a little bit. Buy you a house at $26,000, and after 6 years, it's paid off, and you start just milking in income. You buy it for $26,000, you rent it for a little $800, $900, depending on the location. And by the time 6 years is up, you don't have to wait 30 years. And this is if you don't have the $26,000 to go ahead and buy it outright, and you need to get a mortgage. And that mortgage is going to be freaking $600-$700 a month, and you collect an $800. Mind you, it's like $100 profit, but after 6 years, it's completely paid off, and you're getting $800 a month off of one property. And you can get door after door after door. It's just like we are so attached to these big numbers, and it's all about just your profit, having a profit margin. How long is it going to take you to pay off that house in Dorchester that cost $1.5 million? And then the upkeep of it. And like, we never talk about those numbers all of the time, but we definitely will be in the future with Alex and some other investors as well. Oh, so you remember the mom I told you about that was in the bakery, and she was just like, you black, like the white woman with biracial kids saying the N-word? Well, the father of her child says that this is not the first time that she's come out and used the word. She thinks she can use it all of the time. She is, she's poisoning our kids. This is the type of things that happen on a regular basis. I'm just glad that the rest of the world was able to see it, because I've been complaining about it and everybody keeps telling me I'm crazy, and she's the fitting parent and the parent that needs to be raising the kids. And he's like, listen, I want my kids so they don't have to live in this type of culture where the mother thinks it's acceptable to be spewing racist remarks, and the children are being affected by this. And so we shall see how that rolls out. That is another, I was going to say something completely off about like how Black men are fetishized, like how much Black penis is fetishized on sites and the language. And I always go back to the ethical porn interview that we had, and I thought we were gonna, I have no clue what ethical porn was, but I was just like, yeah, we're having a conversation Freaky Friday on ethical porn. And we actually ended up talking about the damage of the language that is used towards Black women in porn, and how Black men are fetishized. It's like big black C word with a itty bitty blonde or something to that magnitude. And when a white woman would be like, when a Black woman is in a porn. It's just like the black bee. It's derogatory terms when it comes to black women and the fetishizing of black penis. And so whenever I for me, see, interracial couples, I see it a little differently after that conversation. And just wonder. Barack Obama's grandmother, Sarah, died in Kenya at the age of 99. She died around 4 a.m. local time while being treated in a hospital. I wonder if he's going to go home to her funeral. And so President Barack Obama spoke about his grandmother to the UN General Assembly in 2014. He wrote about her in his book, and he always used to mention his grandma Sarah. And when I tell you the picture that they used for the article, like she had the biggest smile on her face and just was like grandma. She's grandma. And so I am sad for him and send all the prayers and love to his extended family. And it was weird if you listen to the audio of all the presidents and the first ladies talking about getting the vaccine. He says, I can't wait to see Michelle's mom and give her a hug. And I thought that was weird because he didn't I can't wait to go to Kenya to see my grandmother. That's just my own personal feelings on how I looked at it. Biden administration is working on a unified vaccine passport, but critics call it un-American, and it's like needing your papers. If you take it back to American history, when Black people needed to present their papers to prove that they were freed slaves. We'll see how this works. I really hope that we do not, when we know for a fact that here in the city of Boston, when we are doing the best that the rest of the country can see, but yet more than half of Black Americans are complaining about not being able to have access to the vaccine, not having their free shake of the vaccine. When the Reggie Lewis Center in Roxbury was open, yet it was filled with everybody else but Roxburians. That is something to be said about the people who want the vaccine should have access to it. And like we know with everything else that COVID has exposed, Black, Latinos, brown people are not getting their equitable fair share of anything in life, and including this vaccine. And so if you're going to sit here and put together a passport and say that people need to have this passport in order to go into, I was going to say a pub, because I was listening to an article overseas where people were like, I'm so excited. Now I can go to the pub. I have my vaccine passport. But to go to the bar, to go to a restaurant, to go to the club, you now have to show proof of vaccine. But yet your grandmother, who is 99 years old, still hasn't been able to get the vaccine because she don't know how to log on online and check in. And across the nation, that's what it is for a lot. You have to go online to register. And other than the little bit of online access some of our elders may have, a lot of younger people are doing the registration for our elders. I really wanted to talk about Little Nas X, or Little Nas, whatever the little boy name is, who made the video. He got a whole sneaker with a pentagram on it, and there's only 666 that were made, and they're all numbered. And so you get 1/ out of 666, or you're number 666 out of 666. It's just weird to me. It's the Nike Air Max that has ink in it, and it looks like blood. There's 666 pairs individually numbered. They are being sold for $1,018. The box has a Dante's Inferno type photo on it. Mad people are upset because the video was released on Palm Sunday, and the video is disturbing for me. I don't know how that man live his life is how he live his life. I just think it is important. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that one all the way alone. It's disturbing. And I'm concerned that little kids think that this is acceptable. But I also was the one who played on Friday. I ain't got no panties, so I'm gonna sit this one out. But the video was weird. Like, I got those weird goosebumps when I saw whatever it was that came up on my timeline. It was disgusting. Let me read these comments real quick. I totally agree with the new administration for representation. Our society is men, just wicked. Systematic is not set up to work correctly ever anywhere, like like social services, instead of hammer as a tool for all problems. Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Yo, hold on to truth. Can we have 5 seconds? So Tasty Blacks used to be my favorite porn site. And it was because it was all black people with a little Latinos. Tasty Blacks is no longer, like, if I was going to go to Tasty Blacks, we're not going to do that on Monday. But Tasty Blacks is no longer Tasty Blacks at all. At all. I was so excited because finally there was one site where I could find everything black. Down the drain. Down the freaking drain. The interracial porn is ridiculous. And y'all know me, right? You know I wrote a letter. I was like, listen, every porn site on earth has everything that anyone could ever imagine. This is specifically called Tasty Blacks. Can we please keep it tasty and black? And now it's like everything is interracial everything. With the ridiculous and disrespectful titles attached to it as well. And so I'm going to find that. I'm going to see if we can get what is his name? Let me pay these bills. I want to find him and see if we can get them back on air and have a conversation about ethical porn. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Let's pay these bills. We'll be right back.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
You are now listening to Spark FM.
You are listening to Spark FM. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. And I've been looking for this ethical porn, and I cannot find it. I have no idea where it is. And so I am going to go down that. Hold on, let me send a text message to myself so I can remind myself. Ethical porn. And so I will find ethical porn. And if we can, for this weekend, for this Friday, we'll definitely have that conversation this Friday. If not, we will. Yes, exactly. That's the ethical porn. That's who I'm trying to find. Jasmine. That's her name. Thank you. And her husband. I still follow both of them. She has slowed down a little bit because she recently had a baby. Jasmine. What is her name? Jasmine. It's not Trendsetter, is it? Jasmine Trendsetter? And wasn't it? Yes, it is the Jasmine Trendsetter. I love me the way my mind works. Yes, and who is her husband? It's jet setting, not trend setting. King Noir. And for some reason, my Twitter won't let me see things. I've done everything I could as far as like change my settings. Can somebody please tell me what the hack is so I can change my settings so I can see what I want to see, how I want to see it? Display media that might be sensitive content. Let me see if this works. Because Lord have mercy. I still can't, I keep pressing the damn button to let me see what I want to see and it won't let me see nothing. But King Noir, listen, ladies, if you are looking on Twitter for porn, or maybe not for porn, his name is King Noir, Noir, and his wife is Jasmine, and they are open to everything and anything, and they do everything. And so I will do my very best to, let me reach out to Jasmine because her and I had a relationship and not, can I tell you, we are talking about you now. Can we get you in the studio this Friday? Let's see if this works. 617-459-0041. So I just reached out to Jasmine. I'm the type, when I have clients that are purchasing a house, I am talking to the female. I am talking to the woman. I will acknowledge you as the husband, but I am talking to the female because throughout my years of being on earth, I have found that women do not want you to speak to their man ever. And so I do my very best to be as respectful as possible and to make sure I direct my communication and attention to the female. And so I have learned that lesson very quickly in life. And it's very unfortunate. It is extremely unfortunate that that's how I have to conduct. Oh, yes. Okay. So let me see if I can find you guys something. Just one thing that's not this inappropriate, because these are kind of inappropriate. So they do public type situations where they have public showings and they show they do BDSM. That's what it is. BDSM, but public BDSM and the arts of seduction and how to do this and how to do that publicly. And trust and believe, I would love to have that conversation. A lot of people told me that I shouldn't do it, and so I didn't. I got talked out of it. But I really think that we should have just went ahead and did it because they literally get busy on stage. And so they were like, Tayla, do not associate that with yourself. And so King Noir and Jazz. So why I can see hers, but I can't see his? The devil is a lie. I'm trying. It won't let me. The videos are amazing, though. You guys find him. Maybe your Twitter will let you see because it's not going to let me see. But the truth, thank you so much. Yes, they were adult guests. It was King Noir and Jasmine, his wife, and it was absolutely amazing. And we will go ahead and see if we can continue that conversation. It is 12:45, and what I wanted to talk to you today about was going within and going inside yourself for the answers. So how many times have you known what you wanted to do or how you wanted to do something, or you just like, you know what you know, but you always want to seek outside validation or somebody, an outside source to tell you to do the right thing. You knew you were supposed to leave a job or leave a person or leave a situation and you didn't do that thing. You knew you were supposed to pick up your charger because you were going to forget it. And then 2 days later, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot it when I should have listened to myself. How many times have you said, I should have listened to myself? How many times have you felt that you knew, didn't nobody have to give you an outside source, tell you an answer, give you advice, suggest anything? You yourself knew it and you did not take your own advice. You did not listen to yourself. How many times have you regretted not listening to yourself? Why do we continuously put ourselves in a position to not to hear ourselves? I truly believe, so we as adults have sought validation at every turn. I recently saw a meme that was just like, don't tell your children you're proud of them. Ask them if they're proud of themselves. So that way they're not going out into the world seeking validation from other people. Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? And so I have taken that and start utilizing it with Baby Rain and with Anari and Asaria. Like, are you proud of you? Because if you're proud of you, then I'm proud of you. But being proud starts with you. Being proud doesn't start with me. Don't look for me to be proud of you in order for you to be proud of yourself. And so this is how we have conducted ourselves our entire life. Seeking validation. I'm not exempt. Seeking validation at work. Did I do a good job? Did I do it the right way? Is this the way that you wanted it to be done? I did this, I added a little extra, or I put a little oomph, or I went above and beyond and was a playmaker. Like, aren't you proud that I did this thing? Like, I was thinking of getting validation in the form of raises. And even when I was younger and people were like, I got a $2 raise, I was just like, who cares about $2? Like, that's not a lot of money. And people get like 2% raises and a hell of a lot more responsibility. And we be looking for validation in all of these things. For what, though? For what? I want you to pay more attention to little things. It don't even have to be big. Let's start with little things. I want you to pay attention to listening to your soul when it comes to when you think what time it is. Like, what time is it? I want you to guess what time it is. When you go to a restaurant, I want you to guess the ticket or the price tag or how much it is. I want you to guess it. I want you to listen to your soul when it say go left or go right. Like, just start with the little things. It doesn't have to be something big. Somebody right now, like, I'm a guess what the scratch chicken gonna say. No. Maybe it can work that way. I've never tried it. If I did, I hope it went big too. But just try with the little things. Listen to yourself for the little things. Listen to yourself when it comes to, I like to do this. I like to do this on the drives. Like, should I take this left or should I take this right? Which one's going to get me home in the less stress? Which one's going to get me home with the less lights? Should I take this left or should I take this right? When it comes to just being at home with the kids and listening to prime example. So on Thursday, I forgot where I went on Thursday, but I don't like a purse. I don't carry a purse. I am a backpack type of girl. And that's because like I carry my whole life always. And I'm not really a girly girl who like I don't like bags, I don't like purses. As long as I can hold on to what I need to hold on to, I'm good. So I went ahead and I transferred from the bigger bag to the backpack to a little like strap over the shoulder type situation. And I could not find my license and my business credit card my whole life. I could not find my whole life. And so I was just like, yo, I can't, like, I'm gonna have to order a new license. Good, because I want a new picture. I'm gonna have to go and order a new credit card, which means I have to switch over everything. And they were like, yo, calm down. When I say they, so I have an open dialogue, open relationship with all my ancestors, my saints, my Egbas, like all of them. I have a relationship with source, with the other dimensions. And so they were like, Tayla, relax. It's in the car. I'm like, I checked everywhere in the car. It's not in the car. I checked the backpack a million times. I checked this. Like, it's not where Tayla is in the car. Like, just relax. Don't order nothing. Don't cancel nothing. It's in the car. And so Anari got a little pep in his step this past weekend. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's growing into his manhood and I'm feeling it. I'm loving it. And so he was just like, Mom, you want to pay me for cleaning out your car? And I'm like, no, you better clean out the car. That's what men do, right? Men clean out cars. That your girlfriend wants you to clean out her car. So just practice on your mom. Just clean out my car. And he's just like, nah, but I think you're going to want to pay me. I was just like, why? Why do you think I want to pay you for cleaning out the car? And he pulled out his pocket. He had my license, which is cool. That's fine. All right, thanks. But then he pulled out the other pocket and he had that business card. Woo! He was like, I was like, where'd you find it? He was like, before he even answered, my soul was like, in the car where I told you it was. He was like, in the car. I was like, listen. I was excited because I listened to myself enough not to cancel my credit card and not to order a new license. But like I still had to acknowledge the fact that I questioned the knowledge that I had internally and seeking outside sources for the validation in this form of, you know what, it's not in the car. I didn't find it. I couldn't find it. I'm just going to order another one. And I'm so mad at myself that even though I didn't order it, I still questioned myself. But prime example, that is, thank you. Prime example of how often we need to listen to ourselves. And, you know, now that I give that example, I'm thinking of like how many other times I was just like, listen, I lost my phone. My phone is gone. It's just like, no, Tayla, you left it at such and such, and it's going to be there when you go back. And that happened when I was in DC and I left my phone on a freaking bench. Oh my gosh. So I was pregnant. I had mom brain. When I went back and it was still on the bench and nobody touched it in DC, and it was like an hour and a half later. Yo, my mind was completely blown away, but your soul be knowing, your soul really do be knowing stuff. Like we know what we don't know. And we still be looking for other people. When we go to the pastor, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do? When you go to the psychic, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do? Like when you be looking at your parents, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do? You don't have to. If you really sit down and have a conversation with yourself, I love shadow work. I love looking in the mirror. It's one of the hardest things on earth to do. Is to look in the mirror and to ask yourself a question that you know the answer to, but you don't want to hear the answer to. And so you ask everybody else in the world to tell you what to do, or ask your girlfriends for advice, ask your homeboys for advice, ask your best friends for advice. At the end of the day, you know the answer to your own question, but why? And I'm not talking to you alone. I'm talking to us because I do the same thing. Why do we always need the validation of outside sources to tell us what we already know about ourselves and about the things that we inquire about? In that same vein, I was in complete denial. And so I love Moldavite. Moldavite is one of the weirdest stones. It's not of this world. It's actually a meteorite that hit Ukraine, Pakistan. The origins of Moldavite it's from the universe, and it hit in the form of a meteorite. And so it's super expensive, and it's a dope stone that really breaks. It's the dopest stone I've ever had, right? And so I had a Moldavite bracelet, and it broke when I was at my mom's house. And I was like, nah, I'm going to find it. And over again, they were like, Tayla, that thing gone. It's gone. And one thing about Moldavite is when it will get lost. If you don't, I've read stories about people who put Moldavite on their altar and they live alone and they have no idea where Moldavite went. Moldavite is that stone. It will lose itself every single time. But when it's lost, you no longer need it. And so it was a bracelet. I paid a lot of money for it. It was a birthday gift that I got for myself. I was so mad. I lost my Moldavite bracelet. And I was just like, no, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. They were like, Tayla, it's gone. I was like, no, it's not. I be battling internally, but don't listen to myself. And so I don't know what it is that you are battling or what you're in, what's going on in your life or what questions that you have, but nobody else has the answers but you. So maybe it's something little as there's going to be a parking spot in the third row on the second side, third row on the left-hand side, second from the front, all of that, whether it's little like that or big, should I apply for this job? Am I going to get this job? I recently applied for me and Baby Rain to be in a commercial, and I knew that we were going to get it. And I knew we were going to get it, and I knew it was going to take me away from radio for 3 weeks. I knew it was going to take me away from real estate from 3 weeks. And if y'all don't know, I wear 18 other hats on a daily basis. And I was just like, yo, my whole world is going to stop because we're going to have to go to California to do this thing. And so I did not send them the video that we were supposed to send. And they contacted us and was just like, we really wanted you guys to apply because we thought you were the right fit. And, my soul knew it. I was just like, I need to do this video. I need to do this video. They were like, but do you want to do that video? Because this is all that's coming with it. Is that what you're willing to do? I'm like, I ain't got time for that right now. Then don't put in the video. And I was like, I'm not going to put in the video. And then for them to reply what they replied, yo, your soul truly knows everything, baby. And so as soon as you're connected and as soon as you're tapped in, as soon as you get tapped in and you remain tapped in, sometimes you'll get untapped, just like, a plug, your phone plugged in and you'll trip over it and then it'll unplug and then you plug them back in. But it might get unplugged because what's that? The plug, the socket is loose. Sometimes it come out, you have to plug it back in. Sometimes when you are tapped into source, when you are tapped into the universe, when you are tapped into Allah, Buddha, Krishna, God, whatever it is that you practice, you're either, all the way tapped in or you are tapped out, but you can always tap back in. And so I just want us to be connected and to be, I was reading recently that there was an article that came out that said that people are not attending church or not attending virtual church, and the memberships at religious institutions are at all-time low. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not, people's spirituality is through the roof right now, though we are not tapped in religiously to indoctrinated religion. We're tapped in when it comes to being spiritual, when it comes to understanding the relationship, that we don't need bishop, deacon, pastor to speak on our behalf, to be the intermediary for us. You know, we don't need you to intercede. We can have a direct connection. We can have a relationship. And I love that that's where we are right now. And so without any further ado, we are coming to the end of the show. And so I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you oh so much. Today was a dope day. I am going to continue to go down the rabbit hole to make sure that we can have the dopest Freaky Friday and talk about unethical porn or ethical porn. And I am going to have a conversation with Steve off air because I do honor him and I do respect him. And I have a lot of love for him. And so we're going to talk about everything all over again. And so no need for name calling when it comes to Steve, because he is an upstanding man, first and foremost, of integrity and unapologetically Black all day long, for us, by us, every single day. And so he just sees a side of the world. I am a very kumbaya, and I am very like, we shall overcome. Let's just hold hands and meditate on it. And Steve's like, Tayla, that's not reality. Like, we have to talk about facts. And so I think it's an equal balance between the two when we actually listen to one another. And so we will continue to have more conversations with Steve. And so I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up with your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness, politics, news, interviews, everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre.com.
Spark FM.
I know you nasty. She be touching on her own.